Rod, you are in Las Vegas as we speak.
Yes,
49ers and Chiefs Super Bowl is tomorrow. We are here to do a preview of that game. But before we get into any predicting, any previewing, I want the lay of the land. What is Vegas like right now?
It's wild. I mean, Vegas is always wild, but they really know how to do an event. And that is all it's been. It's like when you just said that the Super Bowl is like 24 hours, but it doesn't even seem real. Because this is it's like I've been in some kind of football dreamland. It's crazy. I've spent I got here Tuesday night, so Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and then I haven't been out today, but I'm gonna go down tonight. I've been on the strip, every day, and it's just you see random people. They've got all kinds of events going on. I went and saw the Dominique Foxworth and Mina Kimes podcast, and that was really cool because for me, I'm like an ESPN football nerd, and all of my people were either on stage or in the audience. It was Mina, and who was, by the way, my favorite NFL analyst, Dominique Foxworth, Kevin Clark, Bill Barnwell, and then in the audience for me, Bomani Jones was there. And then any of the guys who listen to sports radio and listen to, for any time, Dan Lebertard show, Mike Ryan, the producer, was there, and the infamous Stugotz made an appearance. So that was, for me, I'm a football nerd, so that was pretty cool. But then, a funny story, on the way over there, they had some kind of VIP situation right across the street. It's like the link, there's like big wheel, and there's like a promenade where there's all kinds of stuff. And then they had like in this place called the Brooklyn Bowl, which is like a concert venue.
They had
some kind of VIP situation going over there called the NFL room. And it's like had a red carpet, and I didn't take time to peek in, but as I was walking to the Jimmy Kimmel's where the podcast was, Cam Newton was standing out front of the Brooklyn Bowl, and that dude is massive. He, to think that he played was absurd. He literally looks. He's in great shape, but he's like a defensive end. It was crazy to think that this guy was because like I've seen like big quarterbacks like Drew Bledsoe used to stay at a hotel that I worked at, and he's like tall, like 6'6",
6'5",
but he's not. Cam is like he's like big, like a lineman big, and then tall, and then when you think about the fact that he was like running 4.5, and it was like really weird. And then, like I had mentioned in the discourse, I saw JT, John Taylor, and Eric Wright at the Forum Shops, and that was really a blast for me because I don't really be approaching celebrities like that, but I felt the need to say something to them because I've long held that Eric Wright doesn't get his due as a 49er. He was a great player, and when you play opposite of Ronnie Lott, that kind of happens, but he was every bit the defensive stopper. Think about as an offense, well, we're not going to go with Ronnie Lott, so what we're going to do is we're going to try to throw at Eric Wright. Good luck. He was really, really good. So it was nice to talk to them, and they both are seem to be, doing well, which is always good for older NFL players, because it doesn't always go great for the older alumni.
What is like you have to play how many years and then you're in the pension or something? Like it's
like 5 years, but then it's the weird ass thing is like there's just like, to me, the fact it's $1 billion industry, but it's like 5 years and you get a pension, but then like 5 years after you retire, you lose your insurance, which is kind of, which is, in most cases when these guys really, really start needing medical attention and whatnot, is just in time for the NFL to say, nah, we good.
Yeah.
You can pay for it out of pocket.
Well, that for
Which,
them would be when it's most expensive too for the NFL is when these guys get older, right?
yeah, exactly. 100%. And then like most players, like any of us who work and have had insurance, and you quit the job and then they send you that Cobra um statement, and you realize, I mean, how much, the you had your price that you were paying through the job, but if you try to pay for it out of pocket, the number is like astronomical.
Yeah.
So that's something that these guys face, which, I mean, that's just not about Super Bowl, but that it was cool. Like I say, it's cool to see alumni who are still, fully functioning and not really, they all have their aches and pains and shit like we all do as we get old. But
Yeah.
those two dudes look like they were doing really well, which was great. And you see, all 49er fans are representing. It was kind of like Mexico City though, to me, in that like all teams are represented. You
Oh, yeah.
see, it's like fans from all teams are here, but 49ers always seem to show up and show out. And ironically, we like kind of bought up all of the the merchandise is not that great, but I went to like several places looking for it, and like Niner fans had like bought out all this shit. There was a bunch of Chief stuff still, but it was hard. You were hard pressed to find 49er gear, and they said, yeah, man, it sells out as soon as we put it out. So good job 49er fans.
Yeah. You mentioned Barnwell. I met Barnwell. I actually spent good half an hour at Barnwell one time. I was covering a wrestling event. It's actually like a pre-ticket sale kind of thing. And
Mm-hmm.
I was out there doing that, and then I walked over and I saw Bill Barnwell, and I was like, okay, I kind of knew he was also a little bit of a wrestling fan. And I don't know, just stopped paying attention to the wrestling event. I just chopped it up with Barnwell. This would have been January or February of 2019. So right before the Niners had a really good season. So when you have an opportunity to talk to Bill Barnwell, you just drop all the football questions you ever had in your life with
I
Bill.
mean, he is so smart. I love listening to his podcast. I mean, I learned so much listening to all of those guys. I mean, he is very impressive with his knowledge.
Yeah.
And apparently, according to Mina Kimes, he's like an encyclopedia of like emo too. So fun fact.
So you mentioned the merch game. I went to Dick's Sporting Goods this morning because I'm so thankful for this person too, and I hope I get a chance to thank them. But my stepdaughter's teacher is a huge 49er fan, and for the last 2 weeks, it's been like 49ers day in the classroom, like every day. And and my stepdaughter, she trolls me about the sports thing because when a couple years ago, I bought her a Steph Curry shirt because we were having some people over for All-Star Weekend. And so it's like, all right, got you a shirt. We're going to have this party. And she just refused to wear it. Just absolutely 100% not wearing it. And so then I was like, all right, well, you want to shoot some hoop? We'll get you out there playing basketball. Nope. No, I don't like sports. And so up until this week, that was kind of the game for her. And then just last night, she goes, how come I don't have a 49er shirt? And I was like, what do you mean? Like, you're trolling me this whole time about sports. Like, and so, but she's into it. We got her a hoodie today, and then she went to Michael's and they picked up some stuff to make keychains. So she is making Go 49ers keychains for everyone who is coming over tomorrow. So she's in.
Well, that's what's up.
And I just have to thank this teacher because this would not have happened if not for this teacher that she has. So I love that. All right. So we've been talking in the Discord. I got predictions from folks. I have a prediction that we'll talk about later. But first I want to talk about practice field gate. What is this about, NFL? Roger Goodell, he's pulling Roger Goodell stuff on the 49ers, and they got the raw end of the stick on the practice field, and I know that they are not happy about it, and I know they tried to get the Chiefs to maybe do a little sharing, and the Chiefs were like, "Nah, we're good. We have a little bit of an advantage here. We're good." And yeah, that's not a story that I would have thought. You know, when you have a Super Bowl city, you would think that they have all the logistics for that kind of stuff figured out. But yeah, the Niners are practicing on a field that is not really comparable to what they would expect, especially come Super Bowl week. What did you take out of all of that nonsense that was happening there?
Well, as a 25-year Las Vegas resident, I can tell you that kind of like it's been the past 3 years in the Bay Area with our drought scenario, rain is not something you have on your bingo card generally in Las Vegas. It just isn't. So those fields, like there's several really high quality fields. That one at UNLV, there was one at Bishop Gorman. There's several others, but rain made all of those really, really tricky. And there just isn't another. There was never going to be two indoor facilities, so it was never going to be equal. And the Chiefs were the home team. They flipped that, so it's AFC, NFC, they alternate years. So this was just their year. So the home team got the Raiders situation, which happens to be indoors. The 49ers had their choice of facilities, but they were all outdoors. And with the rain that they had gotten, they were all not what anyone would have expected them to be.
Mm-hmm.
I guess say we could blame the NFL and say, well, when you're putting on big events like this, you should you should plan for all of these scenarios. But like I
Mm-hmm.
say, I am really being from living. I'm not from here, but I've lived here so long that I consider myself a local. The weather here, I can't ever remember it being as bad as it is this week. I mean, it has been horrible. It's been not only cold and windy and but rainy too, which, like I said, it's the desert. We don't really get much water here. So things like drainage are things that are when you get any water, they're just not built for drainage. What drainage? Why would we have
Mm-hmm.
constructed this with drainage as in it just is something that doesn't come up. And we see this in other cities where, like, I remember a couple years ago in Atlanta they got snow, and like at the airport they didn't have any kind of de-icing um equipment because why would they? I mean,
Yeah, yeah.
it's just something that doesn't come up. So yeah, that was kind of unfortunate. And again, if the Niners had known, like, I heard Kyle Shanahan say at one point, we would have just stayed home and we would have, carried it like a regular week. But then the NFL would have probably shit on that because they want
It would
you
have been
here
really mad.
for,
They would have got
for your
angry.
media obligations and stuff. But I understand both points. Yes, you have media obligations, but also you should, in that case, you should do your best to make sure that they have, adequate practice facilities. And if that means that you have to run them both through, I just can't. I think now moving forward, you have to have a contingency in place where it is both teams use the facility. I mean, that is what that would have been an easy fix. Is
Yeah.
just look, from this time to this time, it's you guys. From this time to this time, it's them. And but I can't say that I blame the Chiefs. You know, if I have been given priority, I don't know that I would, voluntarily, you know, choose to share. But at that point, I think the NFL should have stepped in and said, "Hey, look, this is just what it's going to be." And that I think that would have fixed things. But again, I don't know the logistics of all of that either. So maybe
Rod,
it's not as simple as that.
And I understand all of that, and I think the thing that just bothers me the most is, like, they go to the commissioner for a quote, and he's like, "Yeah, all of these fields, experts say that it's completely playable," and it's just like when Roger speaks, it's kinda like, back in the day in pro wrestling when Jake the Snake Roberts used to tell people, "Just trust me," and you're like, "No, don't trust him, he's gonna do something bad." That's what I hear with Roger Goodell. When he speaks, I just think that he's lying. And so I'm like, "Oh
Well,
god."
he's definitely a lawyer.
Yes.
You hear that in his answers. And yes, probably because I'm sure UNLV practices in the rain, but it doesn't make so I'm sure I don't know that the safety of it was necessarily the issue. It was the fact that number one, to me, it was the fairness of it. That
Mhm.
one team is practicing in a controlled environment and the other one is out here in the elements. That just didn't make sense to me that an organization this big couldn't just
Poor
simply
Brock
sack.
wouldn't have been able to throw a straight ball all week with that wet football.
Oh man, yeah, exactly. Brock says more rain, just what I need in my life.
Um, yeah, the whole thing, like, the game is such a giant extravaganza, and I already saw some Twitter accounts who are tracking Taylor's flight from Japan to make sure she gets in, and the audience, I did a prediction. Matt Bellany's newsletter. He's a media writer from Puck, and yeah, I just love his newsletter, and he did a prediction, and I was like, I think it's going to be 119. I forgot the number that I predict for the overall audience, but so like this thing is just so giant. It is so big. They're going to make so much money. It's in Las Vegas, and then have to worry about practice field. It just does not connect for me.
You
So
talking about practice?
exactly, exactly. But it sounds like the everything went well. My fear was injury, like on this. They
Mhm.
kept calling it this Meadowlands like turf. I was like, oh no, that was where Bosa tore his knee up, and so I'm happy to hear that it looks like they're going to have a clean injury sheet there. And
Mhm.
I think the Chiefs are down their star guard, right? Is he the
Yeah.
guard
Shoney definitely is not gonna play. So
he
yeah.
so you know n- at this time of the year, if you have a clean injury sheet, then that's a positive. They've lost a couple of guys, they lost Hufanga, they've lost Cleveland Farrell. But other than that, they should be raring to go. Let's talk about best case and worst case scenario, because I know you've played this game out in your mind.
Mhm.
And the worst case scenario is, that's the one that keeps you up all night. And I think the thing that I am most fearful about for this team is that at the end of the day, we just realize that the pass rush, which we depend on so much, that it's just not there, and it allows Mahomes to pick that secondary apart, because that has been our story all year long about how this defense performs, is that the pass rush is key. And that is my fear, is that they cannot get to Mahomes. Look, Mahomes is not going to get sacked anyways. Mahomes is going to throw every ball possible away, or he's going to scoot around and buy time and throw to the second tight end who's getting out, who's just figured out how to wiggle himself open. But the fact, if they can't bring pressure in a consistent way, then you're talking about the technician of all technicians just going, "Doo, doo, 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 that guy, doo, 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 that guy," and the Niners won't be able to get off the field. That is my worst case scenario for this game. What have you thought about your worst case scenario? What is your fear?
Well, that is definitely one of them. I had like my most important things, and that was definitely one of them. Was I kind of went back and watched that last year's game against the Chiefs and how they did a really good job of neutralizing Bosa with all kinds of screens and running at him, chipping him, jet sweeps, all kinds of stuff to try to kind of slow him down. And we know that was Defensive Player of the Year Nick Bosa, who was like at the height of his powers.
If
And
you
he
ask
just hasn't
if you
been.
ask Bosa, they just hold a lot. That's what he said.
But he's just not that guy this year. And so that is a big concern, is what happens if we can't get pressure, because it just, like you say, it just we're up against it anyway, because we are primarily a zone defense team. And while in man, it looks like it's going to come to like Gibson to be the guy on. It's going to vary on Kelsey, because what I found in rewatching is he's basically like Debo and CMC for them. I mean, because you just never know where he's going to line up. He might be in the backfield. He might be out at the X. He might be in the slot. You just never know. And it's hard to get, people. I see people in the chat or on Facebook talking about, well, we'll just double team him. Well, good luck. I mean, how do you do that when you have no idea when the huddle breaks where the hell he's going to be? And if he's like inside, like the third receiver in, it's hard. It's hard to, double that guy. So yeah, it's gonna, and you have to get your hands on him, because these free releases, he just killed the Ravens with that. But then if you try to jam him, he's still quick enough to where, I fear having, somebody like Demo try to get up and get on his chest, and he just is gone. And now this man is down the seam like, like Kittle, and what you call Mahomes just doesn't miss him when he is open. That's like money. It's like a layup. He's like, he's like Steph Curry to me. Patrick Mahomes is. I mean, he just doesn't miss. So yeah, the pass rush is important. You have to, like all quarterbacks, you have to get pressure, but you really just can't let this guy stand back there and pick you apart, because it's death. It's death by 1,000 cuts if you do.
I mean, you do have an opportunity that if you can get him out of this game, Blaine Gabbert, baby, is the backup. Blaine Gabbert, I think he had 35.
The revenge of Blaine Gabbert.
He had 35 attempts, 17 completions, 0 touchdowns, 3 picks. So that's our guy. We got to get him in the game. Now, and we talked about kind of the difference in that Chiefs team this time is, I'm talking about compared to the last Super Bowl, like just the weapons that Mahomes doesn't have this time that he did the last time. And so you would think, just using sort of a logical brain, he's probably going to have to rely a little bit more on Kelsey. So the attention goes more on Kelsey. But Andy Reid is brilliant at his job. And Travis Kelce and Patrick Mahomes are brilliant at their jobs. So they're going to be creative, and they're going to keep the 49ers defense on their toes. And then if we can't get the pass rush, then they're going to have to do some blitzing. And by doing blitzing, then you leave less guys in coverage. And the whole key of the 49ers defense is the ability to get pressure with just those 4 guys.
I think, especially after rewatching the last several games, particularly that Detroit game, Steve Wilks does not get enough credit for what he does in trying to manufacture pressure, because these guys aren't getting it. So it's not like we keep hearing these statistics about how we're blitzing way more than we ever have. Well, we have to, because these dudes aren't nobody. If you look at the especially in the last 6 games, it's like Nick with like 40 pressures, and like the next guy is like 15. I mean, it's that we're just not getting it. And so he's trying to manufacture it. And it's not something that we really do. So it has at times ended up creating openings. If we don't get home, it creates gaps and shit that people who know more about this say it creates gaps and openings in the defense, because players are being asked to do things that they just aren't necessarily comfortable with. But he is making good calls. Which is what I've always been saying is I don't know enough to know if it's his calls, but I know we need to play better. And so I can see that we're just not playing at our standard. So we need to do that. And hopefully between the two, we are able to confuse them and maybe make Mahomes make a mistake, because that's what you see when you watch the Chiefs is with Spagnola, you never know what the hell they're doing. They have calls that look like blitzes, and then they drop 8, and then they have things that look like 0. So you think they're man, but they're zone. So they are, on the other side, it's going to be incumbent upon Kyle and Brock to be able to give him clean looks and not have him out there confused about what's happening. He needs to be able to recognize and have answers for everything, which is kind of impossible to have answers for everything. But like you say, he needs to avail himself. I don't know if it means he runs. I don't know if he means he throws it away, but he can't be indecisive, and he can't be trying to make throws like just late decisions to, like, I'm gonna do this and then I'm gonna go back across, doing that kind of those kind of YOLO throws. It can't be that. We really need Block to be more like Alex Smith than he has ever been, because he can't. I would rather him throw it away than just throw it up there and put the ball in harm's way, because he has made plays for us, on those 50-50 balls. But I just think we can't afford turnovers this game. I don't think. I could be wrong, but I just don't think that if we lose a turnover battle, I think it makes winning this game an even harder uphill climb.
Another fear of mine is Shanahan, as he's done in moments where we're like, hey, let's establish the run, take some pressure off QB1. And then all of a sudden it's like right out of the gate, like 9 straight throws to open up the game. Like there is something there with Shanahan being able to create a balanced game plan, because I'm sure him as the play caller, he probably goes, okay, if we run these plays properly, these pass plays, we're just going to go up and down the field. But then you don't know what Brock doesn't see. You don't know what one of those passes that Brock throws gets batted down. You don't know, somebody, does something wrong, and then all of a sudden it's 3 and out and you're punting. And so that is also a thing is, we have the guy who just won the what was he, the offensive player of the year or whatever is CMC. And I don't want CMC to feel like he is not getting enough run. I actually want CMC to be like, hey guys, I'm tired. You got to put Elijah in this game. Like I'm getting a lot of run, and that's what I want to see. But obviously there's things that Kyle sees in these games where he's like, well, we could run it here, but if we actually develop this play and it works, like we could have these big gains, these giant gains. So that is the fear as well, as Shanahan just unable to keep the balance in the game plan.
I think, number one, if you're ever going to have a 30-touch CMC game, this would be it. I mean, what are you saving him for? But yes, I don't know, but I would imagine what happens in those cases is, if I was a defensive coordinator, I would try to bait Kyle into throwing the ball. I would give him looks that would make him feel like I can throw on these guys, because if I am a defense, what my fear is that they establish the run, and we can't stop it, and then the whole playbook opens. Then they got play action, or it's just a matter of getting your face. What does Marshawn say? Hit him in the face over and over and over and over and over. You don't. That's a fate worse than death of the defense, is just to be physically dominated. So yeah, I think that might play into it too. It's the defense is like, okay, we're gonna give this dude these heavy boxes, and we're gonna try to bait him into throwing the ball. And Kyle's like, cool, I trust Brock. Let's go ahead and go get it. But I think that even running into, especially against the Chiefs, even running into heavy boxes, I think we have an advantage. Because they're just not as good defending the run. And if I just think CMC, like you said, I think we are at our best when even if it's I forget which game it was now, but we've had several games like that where early on we were only getting like 2 and 3 yards a carry, but we kept running it, and finally the dam broke and we were able to, he ended up having big games. So you just got to feed him and just trust that we'll be able to make it happen. And then ever since Kyle has been here, if we can run the ball, it's hard to stop this offense. If we get the run going, good luck. I mean, it's really, really difficult to deal with this offense. We're just so multiple that if we're running it, you have a hard time stopping us. So I agree.
And the other
We
thing,
need to focus on the run.
and the other thing that's kind of different with our offense and the Chiefs' offense is, the Chiefs, it's Pacheco, and then Mahomes is actually their second leading rusher. Edwards-Helaire, I think he only had 70 carries all year long. I know Jet McKinnon is active for this game, but the difference with the 49ers is that they can run the ball in all of these different ways with Debo, and putting guys in motion, and kind of, we talked about the Chiefs defense kind of keeping the offense a little bit unaware maybe, and worried about what's really going to happen. But the 49ers offense can do the same thing because of all the motion, because of all of the where you put CMC and Debo on every play. You could put them in different places, and so you keep them on their toes as well. And I think it's not just going to be a run game where it's CMC, in between the tackles. There's gonna be opportunities for Debo on sweeps and on screens and stuff, because you have to keep their defense at the same time. You have to keep their defense on their toes. So I would imagine, there's going to be some creativity in the run game as well. For that reason, what we just said is, maybe Kansas City's like just going to be daring them to run, to pass the ball. And so you don't want to out trick yourself, and you may need to, to open some space in places. So I think we're going to see some really great plays from Kyle in this game.
I think on my list of notes, that is like at the very top, is who wins the strategic matchup between Kyle and Spags. Which one of those guys is able to closest dictate what they want to have happen in the game? I think that's going to tip. And I'm not smart enough to know like immediately, but I think after the game, that's going to be one of the things that we see a lot made of, is that who was the one who was really out there dictating and had the other guy trying to be the counterpuncher. And now in the research I was doing, people often say that Kyle is one of the best counterpunchers in the league, but you really don't want Spags dictating, because we saw what that looks like with the Ravens, and it's just not good. If he is able, if if he's able to be the one, like you were saying, that we can kind of dictate to defenses with Debo and CMC, we can kind of put them on their heels
Mm-hmm.
early. Um, you know, with them because you come in with a game plan, but then once everything start happening and Debo is here and he's there, CMC is out in the slot, and Debo's in the backfield, you have to adjust what you're doing to what the 49ers are doing. And I think the faster we can get to that, if we can get to the point where Kyle is fast breaking and making the Chiefs defense reactive to us, the better off we will be. And subsequently, the other side is true too. If Spags is able via coverage and fronts to dictate what we're doing or to manipulate what Kyle just is trying to do, I think that's an advantage for them.
The the other thing from a worst case scenario perspective is because this is Brock's first Super Bowl, that is an advantage for the Chiefs. You don't expect Mahomes to be flustered in any way whatsoever. He has been here. He has won a couple. He has lost one, so he is not Montana in this scenario, but he's tried and true, and nothing is going to freak him out at all. And if you're the Chiefs, I think you do feel that is an advantage. We've seen these slow starts by the 49ers in these two playoff games. Some of it is Brock getting out to a slow start and then Brock figuring it out and then playing so much better in the second half. But in a game like this, you kind of wonder how much of that they can afford to do. And if I'm the Chiefs, I'm like, I'm bringing heat immediately, trying to get him to turn the ball over. And then if he proves like he's ready for a lot of that stuff, then maybe you do play it a little bit differently. But I think they're probably coming for blood immediately in the beginning just to see what the dude is made of.
Well, I mean, you don't have to go any further back than Christmas night. I mean, he clearly got rattled. I mean,
Yeah.
there's no question about that. And rightfully so. I mean, I know if I hit 3 drives, out of bounds, that fourth drive is, I grip it a little tighter. It's just human nature.
Yeah.
If it's not going well, things tend to snowball. I mean, it is really, really, really. That's why, if we want to, look on the other side of it, those last two playoff games that Brock played are so impressive. Is that
Yeah.
he, especially that Green Bay game, he like really shit the bed in the first half and managed to. It would have been easy, especially like we're a week, we're like a week removed or so from that Baltimore game, so it would have been easy for him to kind of go into a shell, but he didn't. He rebounded and played well enough for us to win the game. He did the same thing in Detroit. But like you said, the point you made earlier at the start of this is I don't think we can afford that. I don't think we can afford a slow start.
Yeah.
We maybe if he can play, if he plays just even, that's fine. We get to 3-and-out. We what I don't think he can play poorly. He can't have a 39 passer rating in the first half this week. I don't think. I think that this team is too good for us to, dig a 14-point hole and think that we're going to. Because it's funny, we talk all the talk about game manager and whatnot, but Patrick Mahomes, that's what he's been this year. He is not what he's not going to do is you're not going to go down 14 and expect him to make a mistake like Jared Goff or for the offense to shut down. He's not going to do that. He has been this season more so than ever a game manager. He just goes out, takes what you give him, and then he pulls a big play out of his ass every once in a while, and that because he's just Jordan, that's what he does. But I don't think
27
that.
touchdowns, 14 interceptions in 16 games this year.
Yeah. So I mean, he can be had, I guess, but I don't want to count on that, And some people, and rightfully so, are holding their hat on the fact that the Ravens held them scoreless in the second half last week. But newsflash, we are not playing as good as the Ravens defense was playing last week. I'm not saying we're not capable of that level of play, but as a fan, I can wish for it, but I know I've watched these last 8 weeks, and it really, really, our level of play really, really concerns me. You can say that we can rise to the occasion. It's just my experience that it doesn't work like that. You don't just flip a switch and you play your best game. I mean, I'm hoping it happens, obviously, but I just hope we can play. If we could just play at that level we played last week in the second half, I'd feel much better.
Yeah.
I'd feel much better as long as we don't have the first half. We can't do that. We can't. We got our ass kicked in the first half in the run game. I mean, it was startling to watch. Chase Young was getting ragged off, and Nick was getting handled. Nobody could get off a block. I'm tired of talking about it. It was just really, it was really disheartening. And I've seen enough of this Chiefs teams to know if we come out with that kind of effort this week, it's going to be a problem. It's really going to be a problem. So hopefully we don't. Hopefully, at very least, we can play. That's what I'm hoping for. Talk about how I hope it plays out. I just hope we can play to a stalemate with these dudes. Get to the second half, with it close, and then beat them late. I mean, I that would be obviously. I'd like to blow them out. I like it to be 55-7 if it could be, but I just don't think I don't see that in the cards. I think it's going to be a close game, and I think that if it is a close game, and if it's a game in the fourth quarter, I just think, and maybe that's the fan in me. I just think Kyle and Brock and Sims, I think they find a way to get it done. What you talked about, your kind of theme for this game has been what you're scared of. I mean, of this show so far is what you're scared of.
Oh, we'll get to the best case scenarios, but I wanted to start with the negative first.
What I'm scared of is the Chiefs down 3 with Mahomes in the ball with 6 minutes left. That scares the hell out of me. I don't want him to be. I don't want to put him in a Montana like situation against our defense the way we've been playing. I would much rather honestly, as crazy as that sounds, I would much rather be it the other way. That we're down and Brock has the ball, and now, young man, go out there and make a name for yourself. That would make me feel more comfortable than the other way around. As crazy as that.
My prediction has a little bit of Mahomes coming back in it. How I envision the 49ers this game going. Okay, so you mentioned Alex Smith, and for you to mention Alex Smith after your relationship with Alex Smith over all these years, you explained it last week, but for you to want Brock to be Alex, that is amazing in of itself. But I get what you're talking about, because if the Niners can be consistent in putting points on the board and doing so in a way that is long drives, third and shorts, and just keeping the clock moving, then you keep Mahomes off the field, and the Chiefs may not be able to get going. Then you can take advantage of, the Chiefs go 3 and out. Niners are up 14-3, and they haven't even really done anything special. They're just playing their ball. I completely understand that, and that would mean that kind of game would mean that, it's probably a little bit more comfortable than what the flip side could be is, oh no, turnover here, oh no, pick, fumble, and now our heartbeats are coming out of our chest, and I'm yelling in the Discord. Um, I would, I think some of that also though is the defense, because the defense, if Brock and the Niners go down the field and it's 7-0 and the Chiefs in 4 plays tie it up and then you're back on offense, like that's a different game for Kyle to call. He's like,
Yeah.
oh, we're going to have to score because our defense cannot stop the other team from scoring. So that's a different game. So best case scenario is exactly what you said. And I think building up more than a 3-point lead heading into the fourth quarter. It's got to be a 10-point lead, so that one score doesn't kill you. Because like you said, you're talking about Magic Johnson in the backcourt with the basketball in Patrick Mahomes. And that is the scariest scenario for the 49ers because of how they beat us the first time. Like, what did we had a 10-point lead in that game, and I think we lost by 11. It was like a 21-point swing. And that was with Jimmy G. I think he went like 2 for 9 down the stretch passing. Not his best showing there. Because the city was about to be Jimmy's, by the way. If he wins that game, it's Jimmy's city, and he could not sustain. So
it's funny. You mentioned that the last two quarterbacks, their 2 pass plays change everything for them. If Cap hits that throw in the corner of the end zone, if Jimmy hits Goodwin, I mean, it changes everything. Their whole legacy changes. So yeah, I'm hoping in my scenario, I'm hoping Brock makes the play, and that it cements his, as much as you can in your third year. He's still going to have a lot of growing pains or growing to do. I'm not going to say that that's going to make he won't be a made man necessarily, but he would to use like a jujitsu reference, he would probably get his purple belt if he's able to lead us, on like a game-winning drive or
what though?
in the Super Bowl.
Because we talk about this. We talk about this being a quarterback franchise because of Montana and Young. If Purdy wins a Super Bowl, he gets put on that pedestal. Like he's in the bronze medal spot of that medal round. But like that's, John Brody was not able to win a Super Bowl. Colin Kaepernick not able to win a Super Bowl. Alex Smith not able to win a Super Bowl. Jeff
And
Garcia.
It took Steve forever.
It took Steve forever. Steve was a young 33, I think, by the time he finally won the Super Bowl. So he may not. You can't put him in the Hall of Fame.
Right.
But
right.
Man, like he becomes a legend in the area, and probably gets that contract that you are very scared that he's going to get if he does. So
I mean, I think he's going to get it. I think he's earned it. I mean, to be quite honest, that doesn't scare me from being apprehensive of. I'm apprehensive about it, but you have to pay him. I mean, the thought that you hear people on Facebook talking about him taking a $18 or $20 million deal. That's insane. What I mean, you're talking about Danny Dimes and who's the latest one that got paid? Somebody else just got paid or is going to get paid.
Got
well
contract
that's a completely different, like, even tier of player. He might not ever get back to what he was.
Yeah.
But like Dimes, and again, there's somebody else who is about to. Baker's about to get paid. They're talking about Baker's going to be making $40 million. So if you pay Dimes and Baker, how the hell do you rationalize paying Brock like half that? That's that's like fan nonsense. I mean, that's like you saying I'm making $50 an hour, but I'm gonna take 25 to help the team out. I'm gonna take that. Are you nuts? I mean, who does that?
Shohei Ohtani just raised his hand right now.
No, but Shohei said, "Oh, I'm getting paid.
Yeah.
I'm not getting paid now, but I will get the money eventually." But yeah, so
I never seen a baseball play.
it's
I never seen an athlete put the team on layaway before. That's what Shohei did.
that is great. But like I've said before, when they first made the contract, the fact that there will be continuity between Bobby Bonilla and Shohei Ohtani makes me feel happy that one will end and then one will begin. So that it's perfect. But yeah, so it's gonna be, you like you say, wherever he ends up in the pantheon of football history. Like, you look at Nick Foles and Joe Flacco, they are going to be forever beloved in Philly and Baltimore, and he'll be that way here. That's probably already going to be the case. We'll probably be seeing Brock on commercials till we die. Honestly, me, I don't know how much longer I got, but definitely he's gonna be a fixture in the Bay Area at, for very least, forever. I mean, with what he's done so far, and if he's a made man if he wins a Super Bowl.
Yep.
Regardless of how his career, the trajectory of his career after that. Like I said, yeah, he will be, on KTVU or somewhere. Forever. After that, if Wayne Walker was able to parlay his playing career into broadcasting, a legendary broadcasting career, Brock will definitely be able to do that.
Can you think of
Right?
Brock doing his football picks by throwing the little darts on the dartboard? Like that's like Wayne used to
That
do.
would be awesome. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so for the defense, I think best case scenario is that Nick kind of put a little bit of a target on himself these last couple weeks by saying the Chiefs do a lot of holding. I'm sure they if there is still something called a bulletin board where you put, I don't know, I guess you'd have to print it off the internet, or maybe you write it down. You write the quote down. You're not clipping newspaper, but
Yeah.
he's got to show out. Like, you can't make that comment and then just not have that game for your team, because he's the most valuable player on that defense. He's got to get a pass rush, and if he can, then Wilkes doesn't have to blitz as much, or he can blitz more strategically
Right.
than having to do it more often than not. Because, I mean, I'm a little worried when you're talking about Logan Ryan possibly having a big part of this game, as somebody who in these last couple games you watched him and you're like, gosh, why is he playing so much? That will take some pressure off of that. Though he is a vet, he's got rings, he's been in this game before, so that is probably a positive. And Ambry Thomas, we've been on him, for these last couple weeks for not playing very well. But I think the secondary is going to struggle. Like, if they can get a turnover, that may change some of the momentum. But like, in my head, Mahomes is just licking his chops unless the Niners can bring the heat, and then he has to make some hurried throws. And I don't think Mahomes is going to take risks necessarily. He's probably just going to throw the ball away, and that will take some of that pressure off of the secondary. Because if the pressure doesn't come, the secondary almost has to play perfect football to get these guys out of the end zone, I think.
The thing that concerns me is we don't really have a changeup. We talk about the other side of the ball with the Chiefs. If we are able to neutralize Chris Jones, Karlaftis and McDuffie are both pretty able pass rushers. We don't really have if Nick doesn't go supernova, we really don't have a like I say, a changeup. We don't have, it's crazy to look back. I was looking, toggling back, looking at this year versus last year. We never really replaced. We thought, Hargrave would replace some of the production of Hugh and Ebukam. We never really did. I mean, it's shocking when you look at the numbers how impactful those two guys were to what we did. And it kind of went under the radar because Nick was supernova last year, but those guys really made teams pay if they decided they were going to focus on Nick. One of those guys was going to wreak havoc. And we've seen, in flashes at their next stops this season, they're both good, really, really good football players. And we just never had anybody step up with that kind of production. It kind of sucks that Menahue's not going to be in the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Because he had a really good season for the Chiefs.
I had a laugh the other day because I think Demo was a little bit like, we're going to have a better game than last time. And, Pat Mahomes isn't going to be as successful. I forget the actual quote, but the reason why I started laughing is because I'm like, that's all dependent on your front four, my guy. Like, it doesn't have, it's not about you necessarily having a great game. It's about if we can bring the pressure. So it's just so intertwined. All right, let's make our predictions here. Now, I have predictions from the Discord that I will read. And so you can think about yours, but I'll read the ones from the Discord first. So Robert Ramos, he says 36-25 49ers. Mahomes gets the ball to lead the game-winning drive. 3rd and 8, defense brings the pressure. Bosa doesn't get held. Mahomes forces a pass. Greenlaw picks 6. And Moody misses the extra point, so they only win by 11. From Shelvin says 30-21. He says the defense is more focused and motivated to right the wrong from the last time. CMC is the MVP with 2 rushing touchdowns and 125 yards rushing. From I think it's Kurama. I actually don't know Kurama is real name. I'm guessing that's an avatar. It says 35-32 San Francisco. My buddy Ryan Fantasia, who's a Pats fan, and I think Pats fans are rooting for the Niners here because they're getting a lot of Mahomes is better than Brady comparisons here. They don't want to see Mahomes get another Super Bowl victory. So Ryan says 24-20 49ers. Last touchdown is a juice check goal line run with just over a minute left to clinch the game for the Niners. And then Davis, a.k.a. Drip, says 27-21 Niners. And Davis was showing us in the Discord how far he goes back. He was like a little kid wearing a Vern Davis jersey back in the day. So he's been on the train for quite a long time. Okay, so give me your prediction here.
I already outlined it. Brock gets the ball. We're down. We're down or we're tied. So in my scenario, we're tied. He leads a drive, and Jake Moody kicks a 48-yard game-winning field goal. 24-21 Niners for the 6th trophy in our franchise history.
Okay, are your eyes going to be open or closed when Jake
Moody? I'm gonna hear. I'll hear Jake Moody's field goal. Yeah, but I just think that kid it would be a great moment for both of those young players if they were able to do those things. If Brock leads, puts us in position, and then I think it would make Jake Moody the rest of his career go so much smoother if he makes that kick. If he misses that kick, yeah, that might be a problem.
Yeah, that brother might be kicking for his job.
He might be the third round pick to get cut by this team in like successive seasons. So yeah. So I'm hoping for the best for the young man.
Matt Barrows said he saw Robbie Gould walking around Vegas.
And Robbie runs in from the sidelines.
Okay, here's my prediction. Okay. Niners are up 27-17 in the late in the 4th. No, sorry, mid 4th. The reason why they have 27, instead of 28. It's 4 touchdowns. It's because Robbie misses an extra point. So me and Robert Ramos are on the same page here. They're up 10, and then Brock goes, what would Jimmy G do here? Oh, safety. 27-19
no.
Niners. 5 minutes left in the game. Patrick Mahomes is driving downfield. They need 8 to tie. With 0 seconds left, he scores on a run himself. So it's 27-25 Niners. 0 time left on the clock. 2-point conversion to tie the game and force it into overtime. And Fred Warner gets away with basically manhandling Travis Kelce on the 2-point conversion. Niners win. Chiefs fans are very angry. And Bosa at the end says, no, that wasn't a hold. We're good. So I'm going for the major drama, like the most dramatic Super Bowl finish in the history of the game. Niners 27-25. And that's
I'm gonna piggyback on yours and change your ending. Taylor Swift runs out onto the back of the end zone. The 49ers defense is distracted, and Travis Kelce scores
to tie it.
She said, shake it off, and they're like discombobulated, and that's how I'm sure the NFL and CBS wants it to end. But yeah, well, I like yours better.
So what I want in that moment is for Taylor Swift to take off her vest that Kyle Juszczyk's wife had made for her, and she takes it off and she slams it down, and she's so angry because they lost the game. But
and then they're kaputs because she doesn't deal with losing.
Exactly. I think if you kind of go back to worst case scenario, obviously you don't want a loss. You want them to win. They got to get over this hump. We haven't seen a title since January of 1995. But at the same time, you also want them to play a good game. And if the Chiefs and the Niners both play good games, it's probably going to be a close game. So any scores that I see that are close, 3 points here, 3 points there, as a 49ers fan, I think you can live with that. What we don't want to see is what happened in the first half in the Detroit game, where it's just like, this team is a fraud. Like they're nowhere what we thought that they were. And, I don't want to put a loss out into the ether in any way, but I think most importantly, especially for these guys who've been on this team for a while, they want to just show that they can ball out in this kind of moment. And I think that is going to be very important. And if this game is a good game, I'm very confident that this team can win a close game. And so that's why, in my mind, this they have to keep this thing tight, because that's who they, that shows the toughness that we kept hearing about all season long. The 49ers are tough. 49ers are tough. And I'm like, are we sure? Because either we win by a lot or we kind of get our teeth kicked in. And so this is one of those games where I think they really do need to prove that they are a tough football team when it comes down to it.
I feel, I'm not gonna lie, faithful, I had a horrible sense of foreboding coming into Vegas on Wednesday, and then all until like about yesterday, I started, with the watching the tape and whatnot. I saw like pass for how the 49ers could get this done, and now I'm at a place where I am hopefully expectant for tomorrow's game. It did not feel good early in the week. I thought that, I kind of felt like it was like an uphill battle. But I'm back. I was never off the train, because I'm kind of, pot committed at this point to this team. And so I'm always rooting for them to win, but I really feel optimistic. I think I think we can get it done. And I'm one who isn't shy away from, you know, making those predictions. I think if we get this one done, it might set us up. We might go on a run. This
That's
might
also
be.
Kawakami's take. Kawakami
Mhm.
thinks that they might be able to get more than one if they do get one.
Yeah, if we get this one, I think that we are set up very well to run this shit back at least next year. And then, from there, as we kind of saw, if you're a Warriors fan, you saw you start to make move. You move differently. If this team loses, I think it might change the way. Do what are we doing? Are we going to pay IU? I mean, we got to pay Brock, but things might change a bit.
Mhm.
But you start to get creative. You got 2 championships, or 1 championship in the past 3 years. You start to move differently. You might you might be able to, Lynch might be able to convince Jed to go even deeper and spend more money to like keep this thing going, as opposed to, if we don't get it done and then we've been here now, we're talking about, you know, year 7, year 8, and we don't really have, it's harsh to say we don't have anything to show for it. We don't have any championships to show for it. Things might start to change. So I think this can be a sea change moment for this organization, and hope it goes our way.
And then Jed could say, if they do get another championship, that the organization is just light years ahead of the
Yeah,
rest of the
exactly. 100%. And I'm a better owner than my owner.
Exactly. All right. I I will put this here. If the Niners win, I mean, we're coming back win or lose. We are
Mhm.
not going to hide at all, or no crying
No
in
comment.
Super Bowls. Uh, we'll come back. I'm thinking 9 p.m. That should be able to, that'll be about 2 hours and maybe a little bit of change after the game is over. I'm guessing the Super Bowl is going to be 3.5 hours. That'll be able to get you where you need from where you are, and
Mhm.
then if they win, I'm wearing my Coach Prime blender glasses at the beginning of the
Mhm,
show,
mhm.
and I'll have some whiskey. I'll be ready,
Mhm.
and I can't promise that if we don't win, because I don't know what
Yeah.
the kind of mood I'll be in. I don't know if you can wear the
Mhm.
Coach Prime sunglasses on camera if you don't win the game, but so
Mhm.
I will bring those. I will have them ready if they win. I probably won't
Well,
be able
if
to
we
do the whole
win,
show with the
I'll
glasses.
have I'll have a shot with you,
All
definitely.
right, there we go.
Mhm.
Let's go. All right, so we've been here all season long. This is our second year of doing this podcast, and in 2 years of doing this podcast, Jed might want us to be maybe the official 49ers podcast,
I'm
because in two
saying.
years we went to the NFC title game and the Super Bowl. And so this will be the next tomorrow night will be the last sort of regular season episode of the season. And then we'll probably have a similar schedule in the offseason as we did last year, every other week or so. But this has been a blast, man. Like, covering a team this closely. Like, I always watch the games like really closely and tightly, but you never have to think about certain
Yeah,
things. And so I watch
absolutely.
the game so much differently than I ever have. I love having the Discord because I get to see what other people like Shelvin, are thinking at the same time. Like, Shelvin is way more positive than I am. Like, Shelvin actually pulls me sometimes out of the mud of just being so negative. And so I'm thankful for Shelvin. Obviously, I love talking football with Shelvin because he's just a great fan. And look, man, this is it. This is why we do this. We get to see our team in the big game in front of the entire world of people watching. So it's going to be fun. People, I want you to enjoy this. I know we're going to be nervous watching. We're going to be worried about every little thing. But hey, like I said, my stepdaughter wanted a 49er shirt today. Like, to me, I'm just like, that's a win for me, man. So I've really enjoyed this entire season. I hope that people have enjoyed listening to us. And we're coming back tomorrow night for the final podcast of the regular sort of season. And then we'll figure out where to go from there. Any last words from you, Rod?
Again, I just want to reiterate what you said. I am just so glad for this platform that you've created and that you've given me space on it to make use of all this time I waste on this to make it seem like it's not such a waste. And then yeah, I again just reiterating what you said, guys, enjoy it. I mean, we have a lot of us have been here a long time, and to get back to here to be on the precipice of seeing this, and then so many of you have never been here.
Yeah.
So again, enjoy it, and hopefully this time tomorrow or a few hours from now tomorrow, we'll be world champs. So
Yes.
yeah.
All right, everybody. For Rod, I am Double G. We will see you tomorrow night. Peace out.